Well, a very good evening and welcome to Finland, to Ruka, the winter resort that nestles alongside the town of Kuusamo, a town of some 15,000. Not all of them here tonight for the Big Hill qualification, but a fair few to make the atmosphere on this very big hill. The biggest hill in Finland, and in terms of all year round ski jumping, the biggest hill in the world. It also happens to be the highest point in Finland. That is, if you go right to the top of the in-run and just stand there, you are higher than anywhere else in this country. Well, that's to come in about 10 minutes' time. But first of all, let's reflect on the opening weekend of the season in Poland, in Wisła, the first individual competition of the brand new season. Well, a packed crowd of some 7,500, mostly passionate and enthusiastic Polish fans. We're looking forward to the finale of this opening competition with Kamil Stoch, the captain of the Polish team, looking very strong and hoping for a victory. But Kamil Stoch, in the end, not able to actually produce all that was quite required of him. 121 meters in the first round, 129, a much better performance in the second round in front of the president of Poland, Andrzej Duda. That was good. Stefan Kraft was also looking for victory, but Stefan Kraft 126.5 meters and 124.5 meters was ultimately only going to be good enough for third place on the podium. The Polish fans were really enthusiastic, with 5 of their athletes in the top 10 at the halfway stage. But this was the man who came through to show that his summer Grand Prix form was not a flash in the pan. Junshiro Kobayashi, 26 years of age, very consistent through the training, in the team event, all of his efforts in the mid-120 range, and like those efforts on the day when it mattered most, 124 meters and 126.5 meters to earn his first Winter World Cup success. And the first victory, by the way, for Japan for some 3 years. So Junshiro Kobayashi comes to the competition here in Ruka as the World Cup leader. And just a piece of news that has come in. There it is on your screen. We're running a little bit late in terms of the qualification. Now, the reason for that is the tough conditions on the hill. The boys have needed to have 2 training efforts. And as a result of that, the situation is that we are lagging a little bit behind because the conditions have been that bit more difficult to manage, as they were for the Nordic combiners earlier on in the day. But hopefully you'll stay with us. We're looking at about 30 minutes from now for the start of the qualification. So in Wisła, it was Kobayashi from Stoch and Kraft, Richard Freitag, who had a really good opportunity to notch the first victory. He had a real opportunity but couldn't put 2 efforts together. The second one dropping him down to 4th place, and Daniel Andre Tande of Norway, who was 3rd in the overall rankings last year, eventually finishing in 5th place. So we've got a little bit of time to spare, and so it's an opportunity to reintroduce you to a feature that we are following right the way through the winter season in the build-up to the Olympics, and it focuses on the double Olympic champion, Poland's Kamil Stoch. Kamil, of course, who had those 2 great successes in Sochi in 2014, But this is the story of his career, and this particular episode, which is number 2 in the series, very much focuses on him as a young man going back to school and the early days of his ski jumping career. So sit back and enjoy more of the camel stock story, and we'll be back for the qualification in 30 minutes from now. So here in Ruka, this is the starting order with the national athletes of Finland to get us underway. A big number of competitors, 76 representing 17 countries on the start list this evening, with, of course, as ever, only 50 places up for grabs. And if you didn't happen to be with us last weekend in Visvoy, then just let me reiterate that as it was in the Summer Grand Prix, now it is in the winter season that everybody has to qualify. No longer are the top 10 in the World Cup protected, and they have to qualify along with everybody else, which means that everybody has to take their turn and put their effort in. So this will be, I think, quite a tricky competition in terms of qualifying, because the weather is still a little changeable. People have had different fortunes in the 2 training rounds in terms of weather conditions. So there might be an element of luck in this as we look forward to the competition. One thing I can tell you is that Kobayashi of Japan, that's Junshiro, the older brother, who broke his duck in Winter World Cup fashion excellently in Poland last weekend. Well, he's still demonstrating that he's in very good shape, and he is a man who is to be kept on the right side of, and has underlined his well-being and shown that the 2 victories he got on home snow in the Summer Grand Prix in Hakuba were no flash in the pan. The hill here in Ruka, it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not to everybody's liking. It's very much a flying hill, although the calculation line is at 120 meters, the hill size at 142, and the hill record stands at 147 meters, set by Gregor Schlierenzauer back in December of 2007. Recent winners have included Domen Preutz last year, who won the first of the 2 competitions. Not here, Domen, and neither Severin Freund, of course, recovering from yet another knee injury. He won the second of the competitions. And then if we go back 2 years, then in 2015, the weather got the better of us and we didn't have any competitions here. 2014 saw Simon Aman do the double. He won the first competition, but then tied equal with Noriaki Kasai, who seems to have a good feeling for this hill, because he was first and third in 2014. In 2013, Gregor Schlierenzauer was the winner ahead of Marinus Kraus and Tommy Morgenstern. Go back a year earlier, Severin Freund was victorious ahead of Vasiliev of Russia. In 2011, it was Andy Kufler, who had previously won in the previous season in 2010. But as I mentioned, Andy Kufler not in shape and sadly not able to be with us, the former Four Hills champion representing Austria. So a good atmosphere around the crowd, not so many spectators as in Visvoy last weekend, but very interesting as we get underway to see a number of the Finnish national athletes. They're not all very young. Some of them have been around in the world of ski jumping for a few years, so there are some 21, 22-year-olds, the odd 17-year-old, but very interesting to see whether they can have a possibility of qualifying for the actual individual competition on Sunday as a result of their efforts this evening. So running just a little bit late at the moment because we did get held up by the weather conditions, which didn't allow the management team to move through as quickly as they would have liked. They definitely wanted to get 2 training rounds in. You just saw Yoni Damian on the right of your picture there for Slovenia. He showed up pretty well in training. And start gate number 9 is the gate that we're going to use for the qualification competition this evening. So sit back with myself, David Goldstrom, and enjoy what hopefully will be a fair and safe competition as we see the first of our 76 contenders. Nico Kitosaho representing Finland. Front wind. And quite a way short of the calculation line. .94 meters. And you can see a strong front wind. So that deduction highlighted in red there just gives you an idea. It's not necessarily that easy to jump in very strong winds. Here you have to be a little bit patient. And this is the second of the Finns, Janne Kohonen from Kuopio. Next man down, Lauri Asikainen, a familiar name. Oh, maybe a little bit closer to the calculation line. .103 meters, but that's still a lot of deductions. 1.8 points, the deduction for every meter short of the calculation line. And already on to the next of the Finnish national group. From Lahti, mid-20s, this young man. Two-footed landing and not finding the rhythm of the hill. This is very much a flyer's hill. It's the sort of hill where the likes of Anders Fannemel of Norway could do very well indeed, but we'll see him a little later on. But so far, the Finnish national group not making a huge impression here. And the next man, well, this is Ojala, and this is his home hill. So maybe the 22-year-old will find the best form of those who've started so far. No World Cup experience to speak of. The wind can be pretty tricky here. It's a very exposed hill as well. And you need to be well established, 70 meters through the hill to be able to push on. And you can see there 79 meters. That's way short and no home advantage, unfortunately, for him. Nusiainen will be next for Finland. E2 represented Finland at the Junior Worlds last year, in which the, well, I say last year, actually this year, And he was back in 6th place with the Finnish juniors in the team competition. And that is in fact Jakob Volny, who was finished there in 2nd place, 99 meters. And Nusiainen disqualified, by the way, an illegal suit before he actually got underway. Now, Gregor Deschwanden, not an auspicious start for him in Visby. Didn't qualify, but that is much better. Now, that is a decent effort. It will take the lead. And Gregor Deschwanden, this is a much better start to his weekend campaign. Over 120 meters, as you can see. Style-wise, well, a little bit of instability, but tough marking there by the 5 style judges. Teppo Nieminen from Finland in box A. Yevgen Yasenko from Slovenia in B. Peter Kimmich from Germany in C. Rune Hildalmo from Norway in D. And Jan Halvardsson from Sweden in box E. Mackenzie Boyd-Close for Canada, disappointing that leaves him way short of qualification, I would have thought. And Deschwanden, 108.7 points, and he's effectively, when you convert the points differential into meters, 20 meters ahead of Mackenzie Boyd-Close. Karpenko for Kazakhstan, the Kazakhs who've just continued in their modest, or should I say disappointing way on the evidence of the first weekend. They don't seem to have made much progress, if any, in terms of technical ability. And of course the other element is the level of fitness, but this, on the evidence of what we've seen so far, looks as if it's going to be yet another disappointing campaign. So Jani Ahonen in his 41st year. Well, short of 120 meters, probably around about 117, in that sort of territory. And 111 and a half, in fact, I've over-egged his distance, probably in hope more than anything else. But 111 and a half. I just, there are one or two who've questioned whether during the spring and summer, whether he's put all the work in that's necessary to give himself a chance to being back at his very top form. And in a way, you would hope that the Finnish youngsters would come through by this time, be eclipsing him. Mohamed Bedir for Turkey. This is good news to see a Turkish ski jumper. They had the hills built at Erzurum, which were then subsequently damaged and destroyed by an earthquake in Turkey. But nonetheless, it's good to see that some progress is being made with bringing Turkish ski jumpers into the World Cup arena. Robert Kranets now next to go, and Robert Kranets, 46th only ranked in the individual competition last weekend. This is the sort of hill that Robert Kranets ought to enjoy. He was a winner here back in 2005, but that is, I have to say, a bit distant in the memory. So there the early order, and Sturza of the Czech Republic, one of many in tonight's field who didn't qualify for the individual competition last weekend. Jakub Janda now having retired to take up his parliamentary duties in the Czech Republic. Stoser, this is again much better than what we saw in Poland. This 22-year-old who has had one top result in World Cup competition. That was in Engelberg just before Christmas last year. That's his personal best. He was 8th there. The form, though, trailed off once we turned into the new year, and we haven't seen the best of him really since then. And there the wind outside the corridor of tolerance, the front wind showing in the upper echelons of the hill over the knoll. And asked to take a pause. Maybe let me whet your appetite a little bit. I mentioned Jone Damjan, 2 terrific training jumps from the Slovenian, 130.5 and 139.5 meters in his 2 efforts in the past hour. $141.5 meters by Ryoyu Kobayashi, the younger brother of Junshiro. He didn't fare as well as his older brother, but his older brother, 123.5 meters and 118.5 meters. Not bad in the circumstances. Jaakko Mata, the Finnish national champion, snaps in a telemark, but is woefully short of the required distance. And he's going to be down in the 15s probably in terms of style marks. So Deschwanden of Switzerland ahead of Stoser, Ahonen in 3rd place, but 12 meters behind the early leader. And Alexei Korolev for Kazakhstan. Well, off balance before the outrun, but again, some people find this hill quite intimidating. It really is very different. Lahti is another hill where the in-run tower stands tall and alone in the night sky, and certainly that's the case here in Kuusamo or Ruka. And now Jone Damjan, well, I just mentioned him. Can he take the lead? Well, not bad. We didn't see him in action in Visvoy, but he's into the bonus point territory. Similar distance to Gregor Deschwanden. Style, I would say, is a little bit better. Front wind deduction just under 9 points, so that's like losing 5 meters, but 2nd place, but only misses out by 0.8 of a point. So those two, Deschwanden and Damjan, now look pretty good for qualification. Good to see the Americans in World Cup action. Bill Rhodes, who has also been nationally successful for the Americans, the 22-year-old. That's not bad. That's not bad from Bill Rhodes. Very close to the calculation line. Style 122, in fact. And that, with the style marks, I think is going to put him into the top 3, is it, or 4th, in fact. In fact, the deduction for the front wind there, 13.9, that's about as almost as big as we've had. Only one of the national Finnish group had a stronger front wind deduction. Marat Zaporov. Well, this is one of these issues, really, which is, I think, up for, or should be up for debate. because I think that although the rules and regulations entitle Kazakhstan to participate at the World Cup level, and in a way we're happy to see more and more countries getting involved in World Cup ski jumping, the reality is that the Kazakhs are not making the sort of progress that they should be making, and perhaps they need to be motivated by being confined to Continental Cup until they really show some measure of improvement. That would be controversial, and a lot of people wouldn't agree with what I'm saying, but they need a sort of kick up the backside because they're just not moving forward. And we would like to see them moving forward. They've got great facilities in Almaty. And Kilian Payer up into fourth place. So 2 Swiss qualifying well. Kilian Payer, who was 33rd. And here's Anze Lanisek. That's a little bit more like it. Anze Lanisek, who was really disappointing last weekend, didn't qualify, and really that was pretty horrible because Anze in the Summer Grand Prix was the second best man to David Kubatsky and takes the lead there, and that's a lot more like it. So that will really put behind him the disappointment, and that's an understatement of what happened last weekend. Klimov. Well, he will be disappointed again. 49th last weekend, made the cut, but only just. Will he make the cut this time? Will he be in the top 50? I doubt it. Not with 90 meters. And the youngest and the most successful of the Russian ski jumpers last season, with a podium in Innsbruck at the beginning of the year, not starting in very bright fashion. Yuri Tepes, another man who failed to qualify for the individual competition. Well, Yerny Damian, he's shown that he can be competitive. Yuri Tepes in front wind conditions, which is what he favors. This man who loves ski flying, he's arguably at his best when flying, and this is the sort of hill where he should make it count, but doesn't. 87 kilometers of in-run speed, pretty low. And Yuri is out of the competition again, and will he get a pick for the Slovenian team? Team event tomorrow and the individual event on Sunday, but 17th now, that hurts. And Yuri Tepes is a heck of a lot better athlete than that performance suggests. So the success of Lanisek and then the disappointment of Yuri Tepes, and now Vantura for the Czech Republic. Sturza, teammate, in fourth place. Not as good, two-footed landing, and inevitably that's an immediate deduction of 4 points. Then you add everything else together, and he's down, well, 13.5 points is the points that Teppo Nieminen of Finland in box A has given him. That's taken away. But Thomas Vantura, another man unlikely to progress. Martin Ome, another man who sadly didn't qualify in Poland. You can't quite tell, because when you get a lot of athletes who are well short of the calculation line, you can't be quite sure what the threshold for qualification is going to be. It might be quite low given the way things are carrying on at this particular moment in time. Next up is Vincent Decombe-Savoie. Well, he was 5th here last year. It was his best result of the whole season. And Colin Gerard, unfortunately, not able to smile and be happy with this. 11th place, 26, and we have 76 on the start list. Doesn't bode well, does it? And really nice, personable guy, but he is very much the one-man French team. And now this is Maltsev representing Estonia. Only 17, youngest ski jumper in this evening's competition, but destined, I'm afraid, not to take any further part. And now there'll be perhaps a bit of a cheer for the next of the Finns, Andreas Alamomo from Rovaniemi, north of the Arctic Circle, where so many have been involved in pre-season training. Well, accepts his own faults, I'm afraid. And I can now confirm to you that Anze Lanasek, the current leader, Gregor Deschwanden, definitely into Sunday's competition. And that positioning for Alamomo means that Yone Damian is through to the Sunday event as well. Denis Kornilov had a fall in Visvoy, but happily here he is. And can be competitive. Was 7th here back in 2011. Couple of third place finishes in the Summer Grand Prix. And right on the calculation line. Not particularly elegant in its execution, either in the flight phase or necessarily the touchdown, but 6th spot at the moment. And waiting in the wings to qualify at the moment, Kilian Payer of Switzerland. He was 120.5 meters down the hill. And now another of the Turkish competitors, Ipsioglu. Went to the Junior World Championships a couple of seasons ago and has been plying his trade in Continental Cup. Best result he's ever had was in the competition in Continental Cup in 2017 when he was 12th in Erzurum on his home hill. Kevin Bickner for the United States, with Bill Rhodes, his American teammate, at the moment in 7th place. Kilian Payer through to Sunday's event. Front wind has steadied, which is welcome. Ski tips up very hard late in terms of the transition there for Kevin Bickner. Can do better. Best ever result came on the big flying hill last season at Vikersund in Norway. And Bickner won't be happy with that, 21st. But we haven't even reached the halfway stage in this qualification, so mathematically definitely not safe at the moment. And Markus Schiffner now. Schiffner, 2 very modest performances in training. Less than 110 meters on both occasions. That's better. Not bonus points, but further than 110. 117.5 meters. Now, this is the sort of effort that's going to put him into the top 10. Not a very big wind deduction compared with a few. And 8th place. Exactly 9 meters behind Anze Lanasek of Slovenia. So now another Slovenian, but this time it's Ante Semenic. Back on his heels, finished ranked 48th last weekend. Well, it's a flip-flop of situation for the two Anzes. Lanisek, who failed last weekend. Semenic, whose effort there suggests that he's the one who's going to miss out on Sunday. And now Insan for Italy. Never comfortable on the hill in Visvoy. Junior world silver medalist, but Insan. So Schiffner, the last man to qualify for the competition, with a distance of 117.5 meters and 98.8 points. So the first man with less than 100 points to qualify. And now Mr. Trofimov for Russia. Well, you can't really think of someone who's 20 meters short of the calculation getting through to the competition proper, but who knows? 13th place. That's only, what, 1, 2, 3 places out of qualification at the moment. And Switzerland, who've got Deschwanden and Kilian Payer through to Sunday's competition. That'll cheer up that man, Ronnie Honshu, the head coach. Now, can Schuler, the least experienced of that trio, go through? You'd hope that Aman will later. So Mackenzie Boyd-Close with 103.5 meters now has qualified. So the qualification threshold has suddenly dived. And I was saying Ante Semenic would lose out. In fact, I can tell you, as a result of some of these very short distances, Ante Semenic of Slovenia has actually qualified with 103 meters and only, and I mean only, 72.2 points. It's that sort of day. Kudelka, Czech Republic. And Kudelka hasn't found his form by any shape. 5th here in 2011, the best he's ever done on this big hill. A man who in his time has notched up 5 World Cup victories and 2 runners-up spots, and 4 times he's finished 3rd. In other words, 11 podium finishes and only 24th. But who knows? 86.5 meters, it shouldn't be good enough to qualify. But I can tell you that Asikainen and Trofimov now have got through as athletes in the top 50 as we come to Simon Aman. Well, that says it all, doesn't it? The man who's won here, not once, but twice, and has tied with Noriaki Kasai. His management on the in-run, his body position very stable. He has really good power. He has a sense of feeling and timing on the table. And when he gets it right, and this is his best competitive jump of the season. Look at the star marks there. 3 marks of 18. Now that is different. Seaman Aman goes to the top of the leaderboard, and there are 3 Swiss ski jumpers through to Sunday's competition. That's very good news for them. Much, much better here in Lucca. It'll be a confidence boost also for tomorrow's team event. Bressodola, Italy. And that was not the greatest of takeoffs, but look at what he's achieved, fading out to his left there. And Bressodola, strong front wind, and that's over 130 meters. Looked for a moment as if the loss of control and balance going over the knoll was going to curtail his opportunity, but well managed after that and into second place despite a 15-point deduction. So Italy, and that'll cheer up not only Bressodola but also Lucas Krojcek. Tukachenko, well, he was due to go, but a suit disqualification. So more ignominy for the Kazakh team. Junior world champion, Viktor Polasek. Well, 98.5 meters may be good enough. Junior world champion last season in Park City in America. 17th place at the moment. Just looking down, he's just out of it at the moment. 98.5 meters. But the way things are going, this man, who's another of so many who didn't qualify last weekend, could open the door for Polasek. Probably will. So Polasek 98.5 meters, Nazarov 92, and that's going to let Polasek qualify. And believe it or not, now waiting in the wings, Vincent Descomsebois of France, who reached out to 97.5 meters. So now he's the man, only 58.9 points. Such a modest score. But suddenly Vincent crossing his fingers that somebody's going to fall by a wayside to keep him in the competition. Michael Glasder up in the high teens there for the United States of America. Bill Rhodes of America in 9th place now. 106 meters. Bill Rhodes had 122. But 106 meters will qualify him, which means that Vincent Descomsebois will have to wait a little longer. Michael Glasder. 3 World Cup points in his career, and now, well, last weekend, totally forgettable for Taku Takauchi. Never won a World Cup. Was 6th here back in 2012. And he, like Daiki Ito, yet to really find their form. But we've still got Junshiro Kobayashi and also Noriaki Kasai to come. Taku, 92 meters. So that lets Vincent Descomsebois stay in the competition. So the man who was 5th in the main event here last year has another chance, another life. Sebastian Colorado with teammate Davide Bressodola currently in 2nd place. Really tough task Lucas Krojcek has taken on over the last couple of seasons to try and take the gloom away from Italian ski jumping. It's such a small squad, not a big reservoir of talent by any means. And these are men, Bresadola and Colorado, who have both got into some fairly bad habits over the last 8-9 years, and very difficult to change things around. Stefan Horngacher has been the miracle worker for Austria, and Lukas Krojcek, well, he faces just as tough a task. So here, one of the former Ruka winners, as I mentioned, tied with Simon Amand. But Kasai, well, that really is disappointing for me. 138.5 meters in the first training effort, 78 in the second one. And this at 82 meters means that he's going to have to sit and suffer. And I can't really see 82 meters being good enough. So once again, it looks as if Japan are going to have to rely on Junshiro Kobayashi and Michael Heibeck now to take his turn. Just 1 point in Visvoy for finishing 30th. That's a lot more like it. That is a lot better. And suddenly there's an Austrian smile on the face of coach Heinz Kutin. Right up there with Simon Amand of Switzerland. And just looking at this, takes the lead by and large because the front wind deduction was 5.6 points for him, 12.2 points for Simon Amand. But both decent efforts. Alto now for Finland. Running out of possibilities, the Finns at the moment. That's more like it. A personal best in Visvoy when he finished 28th in the World Cup. And that is extremely good for Alto. 124.5 meters. That's going to put him in the top 10. And Finland have definitely got somebody into the Sunday event other than Jani Ahonen, who, believe it or not, has qualified. But Alto, the #1 Finn, and the Finn most likely, based on last season's improving form, to continue in that way. Manuel Poppinger. Better. That's more like it for him. Not the most consistent of Austrian performers, coming back from knee problems. Experienced at the age of 28. In the points, just got 4 of them last weekend in Visvoy. Never really has done anything on this particular hill. And his personal best, 7th in Vikersund on a ski flying hill. That was now 2 seasons ago. Now, the younger Kobayashi gets this right. He could be, well, what a change. Much, much better in training. That's really disappointing. 102 meters, but it's a get out of jail card for him, because 102 meters will still see him into the competition. Next up, Anders Fannemel. Now this is the sort of hill where Fannemel could excel. Well, something of the commentator's curse there, because that was awful. His last training effort was over 140 meters, and this is barely over 80. And 44th, with a lot of athletes to come, you really can't see him qualifying for the competition proper, and that is a huge disappointment. Fanamel missing out. Progression. Granerud for Norway, making up there for the disappointment for Alexander Stockel, the head coach who you just saw there momentarily. And this is very good news for Granerud and Norway. Finished 25th last Sunday individually. But very much a potential contributor to the Norwegian form all the way through the season, particularly as they don't have the services of Kenneth Gagnes. But now watch out for David Siegel of Germany. Granerud, who last Sunday got a personal best in his performance in Visvoy in World Cup terms. 35th here for David Siegel, which doesn't make him safe at the moment. One or two others I can tell you have now qualified. Andy Schuler for Switzerland, so 4 Swiss through. Jakub Wolny for Poland. Takeuchi, poor, but he's got through. Korhonen of Finland has got through. Colorado, Martti Nome of Estonia. And Colorado waiting. Top Austrian at the moment is Michael Heibeck, and will stay there. Clemens Eigner, though, with 116 meters. That'll, well, it'll definitely be in the top 20. And now Tilian Bartol, this promising young Slovenian who was runner-up in the Summer-Autumn Continental Cup Series, only 20 years of age. Finished just outside the top 20 in Visvoy. And this is probably good enough to see him into Sunday's event. 100.5 meters. Nothing to write home about, but it's going to get him in there, because the likes of Robert Kranetz, 23rd place with 100 meters, and in fact that's the position that Tilian has just taken off his teammate. Wearing bib 57, Petr Proitz. Well, well, two-footed on landing, so giving away star points, but sufficient meters to get him out of jail. Never won here. He was the runner-up here last year, Petr Proitz, to Domen Proitz. It was one of those special occasions when younger brother was the winner, but both brothers were on the podium. And he's gone into 24th spot. And Maciej Kot, Poland, will they be as successful numerically as they were last weekend? 5 athletes after the first round of ski jumping last Sunday were in the top 10. Couldn't get the victory, but Camel stock, the best of them. Heibeck, Aman, Bresadola, the 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Backwind at this particular moment in time. So that changes, and Mache again sufficient on the day, and fortunate that these points aren't carried forward. However, in other competitions to come in the season, particularly the second edition of Raw Air, towards the end of the World Cup campaign in Norway, such a success last year, we'll be doing it all again in 2018. And Mache Kotu was 5th here last year. Well, 99 meters, escapes from jail, basically. Now, Forfang. I've always thought that this is a hill where Forfang might well prosper, but hopefully that's not putting the commentator's curse on him. He's well capable, Forfang. Norwegians who won the first team event of the competition season. Look at that. And that's an excellent performance by Forfang. He'll be right up there vying for the prize of the evening. 138.5 meters. So the longest of the qualification efforts. And finished off nicely. Maybe the spacing on the telemark just a little bit wide, but I'm being super critical given the circumstance. Small wind deduction as well, and takes a commanding lead. He's virtually 8 meters ahead of Heibeck of Austria, who's dropped down into second place. Next up, Karl Geiger from Oberstdorf. Geiger 6th here last year. And that's a meter or two to the good, maybe. In fact, 122, 2 meters to the good. And so he's safely through to the main event. Doesn't seem to matter when you come to Ruka. The wind, always a factor here. Fettner for Austria. 2 competitions last year. Fettner 4th and 3rd in the pair of them. That'll do nicely, getting up into the 130s. I would think no, not quite. 127.5, but Fettner maybe just a tad late, but nonetheless, seemingly okay on this particular hill. So just to let you know who's waiting in the wings to try and qualify, Mikhail Nazarov of Russia with 92 meters and 51.7 points. That's a rarity to see somebody with so few points having a chance of qualification. But that's Eisenbichler. Marcus, a bit disappointed with last weekend's work, down in 15th place. 8th best ski jumper of last season, and last season here he was in 7th place, which is his best ever placing in Ruka. But that's okay. He's happy up in 5th place. And, well, Ryoyu Kobayashi, there's a disqualification. That's going to let somebody in. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Suit violation, and Robert Johansson now. Johansson, 13th position in Poland. and 13th here a year ago. In fact, should be Sternen. It is Sternen. Johansson to follow. So with that disqualification, just having a look. Nazarov still waiting. Gets the job done in terms of qualifying, but again, not the perfect timing and not the perfect transition. I mentioned that you need patience, but you also have to make sure that you don't wait too long. And next man up is Piers Paschke for Germany. Perform with credit, Piers, and interesting to see whether he can follow up. Experienced at the age of 27, although he hasn't had that much World Cup experience, but finished a very decent 12th last weekend, and that by some way was his best ever World Cup success. Has been successful in Continental Cup, in Raznov, in Romania, notched up a couple of victories there. So Piers, good Continental Cup form. This might tell us whether he can convert. And Werner Schuster has lost his German flag. Oh dear. Well, I'm sure he'll recapture it. Meanwhile, Piers Paschke qualifies. Well, he better get it back because he's got to look after Stefan Lai and Andreas Wellinger and also Richard Freitag. So Werner Schuster presumably scrabbling around to get back his German flag to confirm the move. Well, they didn't show us the first bit. That would have been quite fun. And that's a good result there for Piers Paschke. That'll be a nice confidence boost. David Kubacki now. I thought he might have played a bigger part in Visvoy. That's more like it, and that's a solid qualification. He was top 10 in Visvoy. I wonder whether he's going to do any better. He's never been inside the top 10 here, though, in Ruka over the years. Ten to go, and they are the leading 10. But as I said at the top of this qualification competition, things are different this season. Now the top 10 are not protected. They have to take their qualification efforts, and if they miss out, then they're out of the competition. But these are the men. You want to look at the man who's in 40th position, because at the moment it is the top 40. All you see on your screen right now have qualified, and so has the Estonian Martti Nome. But he, together with Sebastian Colorado, so we got two equal on 40th place. That could change But these gentlemen, I'm afraid, are not involved. Look at that, Kudelka out. That's a real disappointment. Kasai not qualifying. That's not good either. Fanamel. These are big names. Ryoyo Kobayashi, one of 3 men to be disqualified for an illegal suit. But there is the current leader, Johan Andre Forfang. And now to the top 10, ranked in reverse order according to their performances in Visvoy last weekend. And so here we go with Stefan Laie, and Werner Schuster's got his flag back. Nicely done by Laie off the takeoff. And that's well into the 120 zone. (121.5 meters), so he'll qualify. Next up is teammate Andy Vellinger. Thought he might do better than 9th last weekend in Visvoy. Now, Andy, who on this particular hill here, the big hill in Ruka, 5th here back in December of 2012. So interesting to see whether this weekend is going to bring greater success. And Werner just, now it's changed, goes to green, 10 seconds, and Vellinger on his way. Now can push on through the second phase. And that was nicely finished off there. Not the lead, but doesn't have to be on this day. But it's getting the opportunity to find his rhythm on this hill. Vellinger, who didn't have 2 particularly good training efforts, so he'll be rather pleased with that, I think. And here's the solid Stefan Hula. Well, not as long as he would have liked, but nonetheless, on this particular evening, good enough. Vellinger, by the way, up into 4th place overall. He is the top German in position at the moment. Forfang, Heubeck, Aman, Vellinger, Bresadola, the top 5. Just behind them, Kubatski and Eisenbichler and Paschke. So 3 Germans in the top 10 at the moment in this qualification competition. Now, Jewa, the rejuvenated Jewa. Wind just changing at the point of takeoff. Now, that's on the short side. No real telemark to speak of, 101 meters. So he'll be safe, but it's not the way he would have wanted to have finished his day. 2 efforts in training over 120 meters, so that one didn't go to plan. And bib number 71 worn by Danny Huber for Austria. A lifetime best 6th for this young man from the Seekirchen Salzburg Ski Club. 73 his ranking in the World Cup last season. Already a lot better than that. Oh, well, clearly very uncomfortable through the flight phase there, and Huber 87.5. Now just looking at that, this is not good news. He's in 50th place, as you can see, but the problem for Danny is that there are 5 others to come, and just one of them will knock him out of the qualification for Sunday. Now, Forfang leads, Tande, Norwegian teammate now. Decent height over the knoll into the 120s. Tande makes it. Freitag, Kraft, Stock and Junshiro Kobayashi, the remainder of the qualification field to start. Forfang, though, at the moment still with a commanding lead, and looks very much as if he could be the man of the night. Richard Freitag led at halfway in Visvoy, but not for the first time in his career. Couldn't put the second jump together with the first one and dropped to 4th place, missed the podium. However, that shows what sort of form Richard Freitag's in. Very good form, and he now for sure will become the top German. 138, that's right up there with Forfang, but the wind deduction is significantly greater for Richard than it was for Johan Andre, and as a result of that he won't overtake the Norwegian. 16 points to come off, and that's a chunky deduction. And second place, Forfang still leading by 8 meters. So 3 to go, and they are the men who filled the podium in Visvoy. The defending World Cup champion Stefan Kraft, who has no real sort of record here in Ruka, hasn't made the podium, was 4th here last year. Well, Forfang has just had his thunder stolen. And Heinz Kuten, 144 meters. And just have a look at this. That is almost textbook in terms of timing and takeoff. And the star marks will be good as well. And the deduction isn't that big either. So Forfang has just lost the lead. Stefan Kraft goes into 1st place, 144 meters, and believe it or not, he's the best part of 5 meters ahead now of Forfang, with Kamil Stoch and Junshiro Kobayashi to come to qualify. Junshiro on the left of your picture wearing the Wiesmann yellow bib. So Kamil, I hope you're having the opportunity to follow the life story of Kamil Stoch, which our colleagues have put together. Fascinating story about his life from boyhood to Olympic champion. And Kamil, like Stefan Kraft, never better than 4th on this hill, and that was all of what, 6 years ago. Kraft looking pretty secure. Will anybody take away 144 meters from him? Well, you can't say that it wouldn't happen. The hill record is 147 meters. Junshiro Kobayashi, again showing generally consistent form. He was not a favorite in Wisła in Poland, but he was consistent right through training, qualification, the team event, and when it mattered most. Nicely done. And you've got to look at him as a contender for more podium achievements. 131.5 meters. And Kobayashi, with that, is going to be in the top 10. But the honor of the evening, and inevitably, I suspect that the bookmakers are going to make Stefan Kraft favorite. He was made favorite last weekend, didn't quite work out, but I guess with 144 meters, he will be the favorite starting on Sunday's competition. So we need 50, and this is the list of those men you'll be seeing. If I whiz down to 50th place, well, I can't. I can lift down to 49th equal place. So I can tell you that Martti Nome of Estonia, Mikhail Nazarov of Martti Nome of Estonia and Sebastian Colorado of Italy, they have qualified in equal 49th place. Nazarov of Russia, Alamomo of Finland, those are the next two who just missed out, as you'll see momentarily on the result list here. And it's rare to see somebody qualifying for a big hill final with just 51.7 points, but that's the case tonight. So I'm afraid these gentlemen will not be active on Sunday. Some of them will find their way into the team event, no doubt, tomorrow. But there at the bottom, 3 real disappointments, 3 suit disqualifications. So this is the order they're going to start tomorrow. Good to see some Finnish representation, although they're far from going to be the favourites. Ahonen in there, but he doesn't really look competitive at all at the moment. Vincent Descombe-Savoie, well, one of his 9 lives saved by basically a very modest competition in terms of distances and points tonight, but the conditions not easy on the Ruka Hill. And further down the order, the men who, on the basis of this evening's efforts, have the best chance of getting major points there. Forfang, who ended up in the qualification table, runner-up to Stefan Kraft. And I wonder whether Richard Freitag can put 2 good efforts together for tomorrow. But that's the order in which they're going to go. The World Cup leader, Junshiro Kobayashi, will be last to start in the first of the 2 rounds of competition. But this is the man who has won this evening in Ruka. Never won here. Will it be a golden Sunday for 24-year-old Stefan Kraft? Heinz Kutin, pretty happy. So this is the program for Saturday. You can see here, this is the team ski jumping, and also on Sunday, the individual competitions. Those times are Central European times, an hour earlier for all of you with us across the United Kingdom. So that's it. Thanks for your company and thank you for watching. Be with us tomorrow if you can for the Nordic Combined, 9:30 Central European time, 8:30, an early start for all of you with us across the United Kingdom for the second Nordic Combined competition, the Big Hill Gundersen, with a 10-kilometer cross-country chase to follow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. For now, bye-bye from Rooker.